Hello again, Dolphin fans. Welcome back to the channel. If you have not already, please take the time and check out my previous draft breakdowns. We did Kenneth Grant, the Miami Dolphins' 13th overall pick. We did Jonas Savaiinaea, the guard the Dolphins traded up for and believed to be a day one starter. I also did Jordan Phillips and Dante Trader Jr., or as I'm calling them, the Maryland boys. And then my most recent running back, Ollie Gordon II, what he can bring to Mike McDaniel's offense and how he could see the field as a rookie. But today we are breaking down the Miami Dolphins' 231st overall pick, quarterback Quinn Ewers from Texas, the highest rated prospect in high school coming out in 2021, ended up going to Ohio State. I believe he appeared in one game, but eventually would transfer to the Texas Longhorns and start 37 games there. 29-8 career record, which I know quarterback wins are not a quarterback stat, or we don't like to, attest that to the quarterbacks, but this guy can win games, has shown that he can do that. And as you'll see throughout this tape, at Michigan, Arizona State is another game where I have on here, Georgia and Ohio State. So you're seeing him go against some of the best teams in the nation, and you can see what he does. This is not every drop back. Most of this is going to be the good of Quinn Ewers. I don't know that I have too much bad here, but throughout the tape, you can see the way he can move around the pocket. You can see the accuracy, the different arm angles he can throw from. And you can see the tools that, a lot of these teams in the nation, I believe, even the Miami Hurricanes, there was rumors that they were trying to get him to transfer there instead of going to the pros. Obviously, it didn't quite work out for Quinn Ewers. I know his agent was upset, said some teams might have passed him over because they were scared to bring in a name like Quinn Ewers. But with Shedeur Sanders continuing to drop, I don't know how true that is, but absolutely, you can see the skills that Ewers has. I believe he even mentioned how he was playing towards the end of last season with some injuries, so take that into account as you're watching some of this tape. But I can see how he can fit in the Miami Dolphins offense just from a basic accuracy and timing standpoint. He's not going to have that rocket arm like Zach Wilson. He doesn't have the accuracy like Tua Tagovailoa, but there are absolutely some tools here to work with where you can see how a guy like Quinn Ewers can come in, at least forge a role as a backup with Tua Tagovailoa as that starting quarterback long term, if that's the scenario here. But also, maybe how he could show his tools and become, that anomaly, right? We saw it with Brock Purdy. There's so many quarterbacks that get drafted late that come in, overachieve, just become like the guy in the right system. And we hear time and time again, how similar that system at Texas that he was running is to what the Miami Dolphins are doing. The shifts, the motions, things like that. He even said they implemented some of the stuff that they saw the Miami Dolphins doing. So there is some overlap here. Maybe he can come right in and, hit the ground running. I don't think he's going to supplant Zach Wilson this season. Zach Wilson's making $6 million. I think he has incentives up to $4.5 million. So Zach Wilson will be the quarterback too throughout this year. But to have a guy like Quinn Ewers just waiting, learning, sucking in all that knowledge, and hopefully eventually becoming, at least again, like I said, a suitable backup, is all the Dolphins can ask for here. This appeared to be their quarterback. I believe it was Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald. So the Dolphins met with them. They went out to dinner pre-draft. I believe Quinn Ewers even mentioned how these two met last season at Texas Pro Days. So the Dolphins, they might have had their eye on Quinn Ewers for quite some time. Again, this is a guy who was highly coveted coming out, highly coveted still to this day if the Miami Hurricanes were trying to lure him there. And, I cannot overlook the fact that after a, 10 or 15-year hiatus for college football, he was on the cover. He was one of those cover boys. So this is a guy who, throughout his college career, has shown to have all the tools, can make big plays in big games, and did enough to keep Arch Manning, one of the most coveted quarterback prospects to this day, ever. This is like Andrew Luck or Trevor Lawrence, what they were telling us they were going to be. I mean, Arch Manning is that guy, and for the fact that, Quinn Ewers did enough in big games, did enough for Texas to keep him on the sideline is a testament to just how well, Quinn Ewers can play. And then on top of that, just the mental makeup, right? Because if you're bringing in Arch Manning, you realize that this is Arch Manning's team long term. He's going to be that guy. He is that dude. Everyone wants to see him play, but Ewers had a good grasp of the offense. He made enough big plays in the moment and showed enough that, the Miami Dolphins should be ecstatic for what they have as in a 7th-round player, right? You're bringing in a guy that has tools, tangibles, things like that you can hopefully develop and build upon. We saw what Mike McDaniel did when he came here. He talked about the cut-up he showed of Tua Tagovailoa, all the strengths, the weaknesses, things like that, just how this was the perfect point guard for the Miami Dolphins system. I would argue, maybe Quinn Ewers is also that type of player. Obviously, he's not Tua Tagovailoa. Again, the accuracy, just the timing and things like that. Tua Tagovailoa is on another level, but you can see what type of tools he has and why, you should be a little bit excited for the potential of this. I mean, this is not Skylar Thompson. I don't think this is Snoop Huntley. Quinn Ewers, again, was highly coveted and as a guy that probably should have went a little bit higher in the draft, if we didn't see Sanders fall, if we didn't see some of those other guys fall. So I love this pick. If it would have happened in the 4th round, maybe I wouldn't have been as excited. I'd probably still be able to come on here and show you some highlights and tell you why he might be the future quarterback too, or, in a pinch, right? You got Tua Tagovailoa. I don't want to speak it into existence, but he's only finished his career one time without getting hurt. So you're going to have a guy that's going to come in, whether it's this year, whether it's next year. Again, I think it's Zach Wilson's job this year, but next season, is Quinn Ewers going to be ready? Can he come in a pinch and do more than Skylar Thompson, more than Snoop Huntley? That is something that has yet to be seen, but when you look at the tape, when you see what he does, the accuracy, the anticipation, yes, even the arm strength at times, he puts nice touch on that football, and there's a lot of tools there where I think with Mike McDaniel, with Frank Smith, with Bobby Slowick, I mean, there are tons of guys here. Darrell Bevell, I forgot about Darrell Bevell as well. He's still with the Dolphins, right? He didn't jump ship to the Raiders. So the Dolphins have so many offensive minds that the same thing with Zach Wilson. They see some untapped potential there. They saw, the promise, some of the good, the bad, the things he can do. They can bring out the best in these players. We saw it with Tua Tagovailoa. We saw them win games with Snoop Huntley. I don't see any reason why Quinn Ewers cannot, at the very least, be the Miami Dolphins quarterback too of the future. If you're a dynasty player, fantasy player, if you have Tua Tagovailoa in super flex leagues like myself, please go out there. I don't know if you need to trade the farm for Zach Wilson. He's on a 1-year deal, but to get Quinn Ewers in the late part of the drafts, in some leagues I've seen him go undrafted, so you're using fab money or whatever it is. Make sure you get Quinn Ewers, because whatever happens in 2026, if the Dolphins nuke this entire thing because this season ends horrendously, or we see Tua Tagovailoa and that offense absolutely click, Quinn Ewers is going to be here for the next few years. And again, there's some tools there that I believe the Dolphins can develop, and we've seen it before. He can win big games in college. There's no reason to say he can't come into the NFL and potentially win games when you have a Tyreek Hill, a Jalen Waddle, a Devon Achane, a Jonnu Smith and company in this offense that, again, kind of fits what he did at Texas. There's reason to be excited. I did a Luke Falk breakdown at one point. So Brock Osweiler, right? There are some horrendous quarterback. Brandon Dowdy, there are some horrendous quarterbacks that Dolphin fans got excited for. I'm not telling you to get excited about Quinn Ewers, but I can definitely see why the Dolphins drafted him and why, in a pinch, with the right development, with the right coaching, he cannot turn into the next anomaly and, again, at worst, be the Miami Dolphins quarterback to the future. I think that is going to wrap up this episode of Take It to the House, a film breakdown on Miami Dolphins 231st overall pick, Quinn Ewers. Let me know in the comments section below what you think. I did do a cut up on Zach Wilson from, I believe it's 2023. It's only a 2.5-minute video. A lot of good stuff, not a lot of bad, but compare the two. He doesn't have Zach Wilson's arm strength, but the accuracy is 100% there. The pocket, the escapability in the pocket. He even has a little bit of mobility that, maybe Tua Tagovailoa doesn't have. So lots of tools to work with. I do not think he's going to supplant Zach Wilson based on money alone as quarterback 2 this year, but for quarterback 3, a guy that's just going to learn and soak everything up like a sponge, you can do a lot worse than Quinn Ewers. Thank you again so much for checking out this episode of a film breakdown on Quinn Ewers. I will be back very, very soon with Zeke Biggers and Jason Marshall Jr. We'll also break down what's going on at OTAs, maybe the orange jersey talk. Jalen Ramsey should be traded every day. I will get into that, probably come on here and show my face a little bit more, but thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for everybody that continues to check out the channel and continue to, enjoy the film breakdowns I'm putting out. But until next time, my name is Josh Houts, and as always, fins up.